Hi girls, I am back. I missed you all so much. I literally missed recording so much. I'm so happy to be back here and starting a new era of episodes. This is officially episode 21, so that's a lot of episodes. I kind of redirected after my first 10. Like if you guys remember, my first 10 episodes was all like guest episodes, and then I did majority, I think, out of the from 11 to 20, I did like 8 of them by myself. So I kind of was just doing solo episodes. And now we're in, I'm gonna call this like season 2. Okay, there's not really seasons, like hello. But this is my season 2. I feel like I learned a lot from like my first 20 episodes, what I like, what I don't like, what I kind of want to be doing more. And I'm excited. I'm excited for this new journey. I want to be bringing back more guests. I also want to do my solo episodes. Like, this is a solo episode, but I want to be incorporating my guests more often and just have some solo episodes, some guest episodes. You get the drift. But, anyways, let's get into today's episode. We have some things that we have to talk about, okay? And also, I'm going to be doing our first segment ever, which is going to be the pink advice segment. I am so excited for this segment, okay? I love giving people advice, unsolicited advice. Like, I am the friend that you call when you need advice. Everybody in my family is always like, hey, what do I do about this? Like, I am just that girl. You know, I sit there, I listen to people complain, and I give you a whole life plan, an essay, an Excel sheet, the whole everything that you need. I love giving advice, and so it's only fitting that this is the first type of segment. Okay, I also want to start doing a couple other segments. I don't know if I should say it here right now. Oh, you know what? Let's just say it. Okay, F it. You know what? I want to share it with you girls. I don't care if I am ruining the surprises. But like I said, segment number 1 is gonna be the pink advice segment. Another segment that I want to be starting is gonna be pink philosophy, and I think this one will be really cute to do a lot of times with like a guest, where I talk about some philosophy subject that I really like, maybe something societal or about like the universe or something, or existence. I love philosophy. I actually studied philosophy in college, a little fun fact, and I love philosophy. I can't shut up about it. So I feel like it'll be a cute segment to have here, kind of just talk about our thoughts and our POVs about like life and like different philosophies that certain philosophers had and kind of how we feel about it. And I think it'll be so cute. I love philosophy. Okay, I don't think I mentioned that already. So that's gonna be another cute segment. And the third and final one that I'm gonna share for right now, it's gonna be the pink versus red flag segment. So it's kind of like a play on the green flag versus red flag. If you don't know what green flag and red flag means, it's kind of like a societal game where people, let's say you're like, oh, your boyfriend follows Instagram models on his Instagram, right? And if somebody's like, oh, that's a red flag, it means that that's like something bad about that person. Or, oh, my boyfriend doesn't tip. Wait, I don't know why I'm making this all about boyfriends, but I don't know. My significant other doesn't tip waiters, right? You could say, oh, that's a red flag. Like, why don't they care about like workers, right? And then obviously pink flags would be like the green flag. So something good that they're doing, like, oh, they love doing community service. Okay, that's a pink flag, whatever. But I want to do it on like cooler topics or maybe even like stories. And I think that'll be such a cute segment to do, especially with like guests, do a little red flag, pink flag segment. And yeah, that's kind of what's coming up. I also have some guests that I'm really excited to eventually have on the podcast that I've already kind of reached out to. And it's going to be exciting. It's people that I'm not like friends with, but it's people that I want to talk to and kind of get some information for you girls and just kind of start learning here all together instead of just me sharing my info. I also want to learn from other people. So that's going to be super exciting. But anyways, let's get into today's episode. I really want to talk about 2 main topics that have been on my mind a lot. Number 1 being the hive mindset. If you don't know what the hive mindset means, it kind of just means like how people do things as like a hive, like a collective. Like if everybody's like, oh, we don't like parking tickets, and everybody's like, yeah, we hate parking tickets, right? Like it's like a group mindset, even if maybe like what everybody's agreeing on isn't the right opinion. It's just because the majority are thinking it, then everybody's like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Like I don't like parking tickets. And I want to talk about that because I see it a lot on social media and I see how much our minds are swayed all the time. So I want to get into that. And I also want to talk about when is it time to take a break? Okay. I recently just took a break myself from the podcast. I also, before that, had took a break for a year from dropping an official collection on Wasted Apparel. So I feel like I'm the queen of breaks. Okay. I know when I need to take a break and I don't mind taking one. Okay. I know a lot of people sometimes get a little embarrassed taking a break or don't feel like they deserve a break. And so I want to talk about breaks. I feel like we definitely need them as people a lot more than we realize. And yeah, of course, there are some downsides to taking a break sometimes, but there's also some really, really good and important things that come with taking a break. So let's just jump into it. I kind of want to talk about the break thing first, obviously, because like I said, I just took a break. And the reason why I personally took a break is like I told you girls, like I wanted to reflect on the episodes. I felt like I had gotten to a point where I was just putting out like, especially towards the last couple episodes, I just felt like it was like routine, like, okay, it's Wednesday, I need to drop. And I hadn't really like taken any time to like, okay, what do I want to be doing? What do I want to be doing less of and more of? And where do I want to take this? And I couldn't really sit down and think about it as much and plan and better the podcast or better myself because I was so busy in that routine that I didn't have that like free time to think and to ponder and to reinvent myself in some way. And I felt like, you know what? This is a sign. You need to take a break. Same thing when I took a break from Wasted Apparel. Last year when I dropped the micros for that summer, 2023, I hadn't dropped an official collection since now. I had been doing customs and obviously like all that stuff, but I hadn't officially dropped a collection. And the reason why is because around that time when I dropped this collection a year ago is when I had came up with the idea for the podcast. I had decided that I wanted to do this podcast and I wanted to figure it out, and it just felt like I had found my passion, like my passion that I really, really wanted to do. Wasted felt like my business and an endeavor that I had started when I was a teenager. But now, as I had been entering womanhood, I was realizing, okay, you know what? I really have a passion for like law and public speaking and philosophy. And I love learning and watching podcasts and bettering my life. And I really wanted to find a podcast at the time that it's like this literally my podcast is what I was trying to find, like a really girly podcast that spoke about important things for womanhood and just like mindset and health and everything in between and a little entertaining. And I couldn't find one. It was like either fully entertainment or fully educational or way too girly and not like enough like substance in the content. And I came up on the realization like, oh my God, this is meant for me. I am going to do this. And when that realization hit me, I understood that I couldn't do both things at the same time and really figure out this podcast and what I wanted it to be and how I was going to do it and thrive in it if I was going to be dividing my attention in two. Now, this really shocked a lot of people, especially like people close to me. They're like, so you're just not going to drop any collections? Like, what are you going to do? And I just knew it was a risk that I had to take because if I would have not took a break from Wasted, and if I would have just kept doing that and trying to figure this out and pouring myself into this and pouring myself into that, I knew I wouldn't have been able to pour 100% of myself into the podcast. And when I realized that this is what I really wanted to do and that this was my love, I was like, this deserves 100% of me. And it needs 100% of me if it's going to be what I want it to be. And it was tough, obviously, to just say, hey, I'm going to stop. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to just figure this out and I'm going to see what happens. And it's scary. Of course, it's scary sometimes to take a break and to almost take a step back, especially when people around you are like, are you crazy? Like, you're just going to stop doing this, or you're just going to abandon your job, or are you going to quit, or are you going to stop your internship? Are you going to stop school? Whatever your version of taking a break is going to be, people are going to be like, what do you mean? Like, you're going to lose all this progress. You're going to undo all the work that you've done. And that's just not true. Okay, sometimes taking a break, even if you want to keep doing what you're doing. Like, I just took a break from the podcast, and it's not because I didn't want to keep doing the podcast. It's because I wanted to do it better. I felt like, okay, I had lost my enthusiasm and my spunk and my like funness for it. I had just kind of been running off of fumes and dedication and hard work instead of like fun and what I originally started the podcast for. So I was like, you know what? Even if this hurts my numbers, or even if the girls are like, hey, like, what's going on? What happened to consistency? Like, even if it came with other people not understanding or not appreciating my break, I knew that that's what I needed. And that has to be the determining factor when you decide that you want to break. It's like, what is your gut telling you? It's not what other people are going to think. It's not what other people are telling you. And it's also not your brain also chattering in and being like, hey, you're doing something wrong. You're going to lose all this. Like, your brain could be telling you all these things, even if it's not outside sources. And my brain also does that to me. I'm not going to sit here and act like my brain is like, go girl, take that break. I also feel that guilt. I cry sometimes, like if I'm late on an episode. I feel like a failure if I skip a week. It gets really, really like heavy on a person sometimes to uphold a standard that they've created for themselves, especially one that you put out socially, like, hey, I'm going to show up every Wednesday. And then when you don't, you feel like you're letting people down. My mom also watches my episodes, so I almost feel like I'm going to get grounded. I know I won't, but like, I still have that like childhood, like, oh, my mom is going to be like, where's the episode? And I kind of get like a little, anxious. And then I think about all the girls that are going to be like, where is she? And then it's like, oh my God, what if they stop watching? And what if they forget about me? Like, I have all these thoughts too. But it's about being realistic with yourself and knowing that if you keep showing up as not the best version of yourself for long enough, you're going to hate what you're doing. You're going to hate that school, that degree, that job, that podcast, that brand, whatever it is that you're doing. You keep showing up as half of you, and you are going to hate showing up because now you have associated that job, that thing, that hobby with the feeling of not being happy, instead of you showing up when you're happy. And now you're like, oh my God, I love doing this because every time I do it, I am happy. Your brain starts to really pick up on these things. It has muscle memory. It knows, okay, like every time you go to the dentist, you get a little nervous, or maybe every time that you, I don't know, see a cop, you get a little anxious. Like, these are muscle memory things in your brain. You associate certain things with certain feelings. And if you're associating something that you love and something that makes you happy with feelings that are not happy and love and joy, it's going to start rewiring your brain to believe that those are the feelings associated with that and not, love, fun, joyfulness that you originally had. Now, I also want to be clear and remind you that I'm not encouraging you to be lazy or to not be disciplined and to not show up for the things that you say that you will, and to bring the I need a break excuse when you've just been procrastinating or whatever. It's not the same thing. You shouldn't excuse yourself from like having a lazy day and being like, I just needed a break. When you need a break, when you are showing up, when you are being disciplined and you start to feel unhappy about it. Not when you're being lazy and you don't show up and then you're like, oh, it's because I needed a break. You can't do it backwards, okay? You can't excuse your lack of discipline with needing a break. You need to be working so hard that you understand and realize, I need a little break, okay? Don't be a little lazy girl. I do that sometimes, and I love telling myself, oh, it's because I needed a break. Oh, it's because I'm PMSing. Oh, it's because I'm a girl. Like, I also love doing that, so I'm here to tell you, don't fall for it. Your brain is playing tricks on you, okay? You can't just let our brains dictate reality because, girl, sometimes she be lying, okay? And speaking of lying, let's get into the hive mindset conversation that I wanted to talk to you girls about. I have been seeing this so much on TikTok. I love using TikTok. If you're not on TikTok, there's other versions of this in the world, whether it's like politics or just like public opinions, but I see it a lot on social media. And recently, like, the example itself that brought me to thinking about this topic a little bit deeper was the article that was made about the ballerina farm lady on TikTok. If you girls don't know who the ballerina farm lady is, I'm going to give you like a little Sparks Note summary of who she is. This is like a woman who she used to be a ballerina. She's been in like a bunch of pageants, or what's it called? Like beauty, competitions, Miss State, Miss Universe, those type of things, right? She's this gorgeous woman. She married this really, really wealthy man, and they moved from New York, so from like the city to a really, really like farm type of lifestyle where they're like milking their own cows, making their own cheese from scratch. And they live like what seems to be a very simple and like organic type of life, very in tune with nature, and just like there's 9 kids, so she's had 9 kids, and it's like home birth, and the kids all take care of each other, and whatever. Everybody was loving this lady on TikTok for years. Everybody was like, "Oh my god, like this is what we need to all aspire to be, like super in tune with like our womanhood and like the fact that she lives on a farm and she's living this very like organic type of lifestyle where it's not TVs and processed foods. It's like a bunch of kids, just a family taking care of each other, cooking, love, whatever. Everybody was loving this lady. Recently, this article came out. So this lady from I think it's Times, like that's who wrote the article, Times, or is it Times Magazine? I don't know. Somebody wrote an article. They went to her house, they interviewed her, and this article kind of spoke about that, oh, her husband was interrupting her every time that she wanted to speak. Every answer that she was giving, he was like interrupting it or answering questions for her. She looked exhausted. Her kids were like all over her. She basically, the article just said that this lady is not this perfectly put together person that we perceive her to be, that she seems unhappy, that her husband seems like he's controlling and a little bit of like a we're doing things my way type of man, whatever. And that maybe she's not as happy as it seems. She seems like she had given up her dreams and her goals of like being a ballerina and just being like in the beauty industry to being this full-time mom with no help, no nannies, no anything. And that it seemed like that's not what she wanted to be doing. So this lady wrote this full article, long as hell, okay? And people have been all over TikTok just talking about, oh my God, like poor lady, she needs a break, she needs a vacation. Like, I feel so bad for her. Just kind of like flipping this whole script of idealizing her to not feeling so bad for her and telling her to like leave her husband and that, oh my God, you don't deserve this, you deserve so much better. All of these things, right? Everybody, like everybody's making these videos. And it just made me think, what if this like lady who wrote this article, who wrote this piece, what if she's lying? What if she, you know how like sometimes you watch in a movie where like the boss of a journalist is like, hey, we need you to put out this story, we need you to make it juicy and like this and this and that. And the journalist sometimes doesn't want to, but their boss is like, we need a groundbreaking story. We need you to lie on there and exaggerate and whatever. And the person is like, I don't want to do that, but they do it. What if that is what's going on? Like, what if that lady exaggerated it or lied or whatever? Like, also, she could have been fully saying the truth. Like, this actually might be a perfect take on what's going on and a perfect depiction of this lady's family and, an inside look as to it's not what you really think it is. And you guys are all idealizing this lady and she's not even happy and she's kind of being a little, abused in some way, whatever. But my point is that we don't actually know, right? This is one lady's word. She, of course, is a journalist. You would think to believe in some sort of like journalistic integrity. And, you kind of like, okay, they wrote this whole article, they're quoting things that she said. But what if she's manipulating the way that she said it or the way that she looked when she said it or the surroundings of when she said, we don't even know. And that's my whole point. She might actually be right. She might actually be completely lying. But my whole point is that we see this a lot on the internet where people say things or make a story about a specific celebrity or just even regular people. And they're like, oh, this person is this type of person. And it's usually based off of the word or the experience or story off of one or two people. And then it's like, oh, we got them. Like, this is who they really are. And it is such a negative way to perceive reality and to perceive truth. We're so easily swayed on the internet because, wanting to maintain our social hierarchy as like humans and, we are pack animals. We don't want to be left out. We don't want to be excluded. We don't want to be, kicked out of the group. And so we tend to go with majority. And if majority is saying X and you're saying Y, it's going to be a problem. And I feel like that's a lot of the reasons why we are so easily influenced to believe anything now on social media, just because we don't want to be left out. We don't want to be the only ones that don't agree with something. And, it gets really dangerous sometimes. Like the way that we are completely just like playing like this tennis match in our brain, like, oh, we're going with this. Nope, we're going with that. Like we saw it with Nara Smith. It's another example of like a lady who's famous on TikTok and people were idealizing her one day and then hating her the next day. And they do this to so many like celebrities, so many people all the time. And I feel like it's important to remember that we are individuals and that we don't always have to go with the hive and that we don't always have to believe everything that we see on social media. This isn't just for tea or drama. A lot of the stuff that we see on social media, whether it's like politics or things about our health, it's like as soon as we watch one video, we are like, that's the truth. We don't even go further into investigating what we saw. Like, what if this lady has been known to lie before on another interview? I'm not saying that she did. Obviously, this could have been the most truthful person ever, right? But even if it's like a health related video where they're like, oh, fasting is really good for you. I used to think this, right? I've told everybody in my life, hey, intermittent fasting is so good for you. And then I was just watching this podcast episode with Dr. Andrew Huberman, who's a very smart, educated man, speaking to another expert in the field about women with fasting, like doing fasting. And she was saying how it's not good for women to fast and how it spikes our cortisol and how that affects our health and that it's ideal for men. And these studies kind of came from men, but not for women. Yet, as soon as I watched one video when I was way younger, I was like, got it. Yep. Fasting is great. Intermittent fasting, like whatever, it's amazing for me. I told my mom about it. I told everybody about it. Like, hey, this is what we all need to be doing. I tried the eating within an 8-hour window before, all these other things, just to find out, like, girl, that is not meant for you. You know what I'm saying? And we do this all the time. Like I'm saying, I do it myself. And it's just time to understand that one video, one person, one truth isn't the ultimate truth, okay? And I'm gonna leave that at that. And now it's time to get into something a little bit more lighthearted and more fun. We're gonna get into our pink advice segment. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so our first write-in is advice on building a brand and how to not give up. I love this question. I love this question because I started a brand and I have pivoted into what I want to do, into this. And in a way, I kind of gave up, like not really, but you know what I'm saying. There is a time to give up and there's a time not to give up. And first part of the question, which is how to build a brand, I think the best way to approach building a brand is to first write down everything that you already know that you want to do about this brand. Let's say that you're making a candle business, right? And you know that you want the colors to be, let's say, like baby blue and baby pink, and maybe you know the font that you want, or you can kind of imagine your logo, or you know what you want the brand to feel like, or who you're targeting. The things that you already know, write all of those things down, all of them. The packaging, maybe you don't know the rest, but you know how you want the packaging to be. Everything that you can fully, clearly envision, write that down and then figure out what you're missing. Like, okay, I have no idea about the logistics of having a brand. I have no idea how to market this. I have no idea how to legally file taxes for this. Whatever it is that you know that you don't know, right? Then write that down. There's also the point of outsourcing. You have to figure out what things you know you're going to do and which things you're going to outsource. Are you making the candles yourself, or are you buying them already made and you're just reselling them? Are you going to make your own logo, or are you going to pay someone to make your own logo? Write all the things that you know you need to outsource and figure out how and who you're going to outsource this stuff from. Who's the best person at taking pictures for the products and who can help you maybe grow an online audience or maybe run ads for your products. The things that you know you don't want to be in charge of and you know you have to outsource, go ahead, write those down. And now your task is going to be finding out who is going to be the person that you choose to outsource this stuff to. And then the final thing is leaving room for all the things that you don't know that you need to know. You don't even know that you need to know these things. Like, you know, maybe, okay, I don't know how to file taxes. I don't know how to start a business, or I don't know if I need an LLC or a corp or whatever. You know that you don't know this, but then there's going to be things that you don't even know that you need to know. And this only comes through extensive research. You're going to just research Overall, how to start a candle business, whatever your business is, like if you knew nothing about it, because in the doing that, you're going to find out things that you didn't know that you need to know. Like maybe there's like a specific law. Oh, when you mail candles, you can't mail them in this type of packaging because they are a fire hazard in some way and they have to be in this special packaging. You maybe didn't even think of that, okay? And imagine you go to jail, or imagine you start a fire in a truck or something, right? Because you didn't know and you didn't even know that you needed to know that. So leave room to find out the things that you didn't know that you needed to find out. And this only comes through doing the full research, like if you knew nothing about candle making, okay? And that's basically my best advice to how to start a brand. Obviously, there's so much more to know, like specifics. And if you want to know specific advice on specific things, let me know. I'll love to answer more. But more importantly, you have to know when to give up on your business, okay? And the only right answer to that question is when your heart is not in it, okay? There is a difference between you being frustrated, you being tired of your business not being maybe profitable or being where you want it to be, and you just not loving your business anymore. And the best way to find out if you want to really give up on your business for the right reasons, or if you're just feeling like that because it's not where you want it to be and the results aren't pouring in, it's just imagine it this way. If the money was coming in from this business enough that you could live off of it, enough that you were profitable, would you still be excited to show up every day to work apart from the money? Like you had enough money coming in from the job, but like, will you be excited to do that job? Would you be excited to be doing the candles and doing that stuff and creating new scents? Like, does that excite you anymore, even with the money coming in? And if it's not, obviously, just imagine it. Like, okay, if I was getting paid from this, would I be excited to fill these candle orders? Would I be excited to make new products and go to the photo shoots and do the branding and stuff? Or am I just going to be excited that I'm making money and that it's like a good business in the sense that I'm profitable? And that'll give you your real answer, and vice versa. Obviously, if you are profitable, but you're not sure if, if this is the right thing for you, imagine if you weren't making all that money. Like, okay, if I couldn't sell this anymore, if nobody could buy this, if nobody could watch this, if nobody could have my product, would I still make it? I would still be sitting here talking even to myself if nobody ever wanted to watch this. Obviously, that's not my goal, and I'm putting in a lot of work, and I want this to reach people and to help other women and to create a community of women who like want to better themselves and that we could all do it together. That's my goal. So obviously part of my dream is to reach more women, but I still enjoy self-help. I still enjoy having conversations. I still love this part of it, and I would do it even if I never got paid for it. Like I would do, let's say I was rich from something else and I could have a hobby. This would be my hobby. So if you would do your business as a hobby, if you would do it and not get paid, that's a great way to imagine. That's a great way to understand if you are doing it just for the money or if you're doing it because you love it. And like I said, if you aren't making any money, imagine you were making money, would you be excited? When I was getting a lot of orders from Wasted, I will dread having to sit there and sew it. I like the idea of sewing it because I know it's not like a little kid in China making these products. But what I love and enjoy about Wasted is not the sewing, it's the marketing and the coming up with new products and learning how to take cool pictures for it and the digital marketing, just like making that cool, making the website. I love doing the website. I love the photo shoots and all of that, the creative directing. I love that. I don't love the sewing, and that's okay to admit to myself. If I could outsource the sewing, I would be the happiest girl in the world, and one day I will. But for now, I don't enjoy that part of the job, which means I don't want to be sewing forever. I love having a brand, but if nobody paid me ever, I wouldn't be sewing. I would do the digital marketing for free. Like if my friend is like, hey, I want to come out with this. I want your help learning how to market. Like what type of photo shoot should I do? I would do that for free. I would help somebody with a website for free. I love those things. The things that you would do for free are the things that you really, really, truly love. And that's a great indicator that you should stick it out even if you're not seeing the results right then and there, okay? Like even if you're struggling for a couple years, but you know that you love this, stick it out, figure it out, and don't give up. Now, if you're only doing it because of profits, or if you're only sticking it out because you're this far into it and you've already invested this much, but you don't really love it, give it up. Give it up. It's like having a bad boyfriend and marrying them just because you're too embarrassed to break up with them. Give it up. Okay. But that concludes the pink advice segment. I feel like I talked a lot today, so I kind of wanted to keep the segment a little bit small. There's a lot of other questions that I didn't get to answer, so I'm going to sprinkle them into every episode as much as I can. And hopefully, I could do some with some guests as well. But I miss you girls so much. I'm so happy to be back. I can't wait to be making more episodes and having more guests and just doing more fun things. And if you girls have any things that you want me to start doing or guests that you want to see again, or things that you want some advice on, let me know in the comments below. I can't wait to see you girls next week. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.